Salut.
你好，
E aí,
Bem-vindo
galera?
ao Travel Tribe.
欢迎来到 Travel Tribe。
Bem-vindo ao Travel
Et
Tribe.
bienvenue au podcast de Triple Trip.
Welcome to the Travel Tribe podcast. Get out the Jager bombs, because we have Evan Jager on the tribe today. Jager is an American distance runner who went from being a local hometown hero at his high school to now running professionally for Team Nike, including winning the silver medal at the Steeplechase in the 2016 Olympics in Brazil and getting bronze at the 2017 World Championships in London. He's a current North American record holder in the 3,000-meter steeplechase and looking to hopefully continue to kick some ass at the Tokyo Olympics. Today, we chat about his long journey towards becoming a professional runner, the ups, the downs, what it's like to train and compete internationally, and last but not least, his heroic journey towards winning silver medal at the 2016 Brazil Olympics. Please welcome the Jager bomb himself, Evan Jager.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
How are you, my man?
You mean our high school?
Yeah.
I did well at our high school, not my high school or
Yeah,
high school in
exactly.
general. Our high school.
You were the one getting all the ladies over there on the cross country team while I was sitting the bench or the football team getting extra points.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, it was great. Actually, back in the day, I actually remember you used to running down my street with your shirt off, just always running all the time. And it's so crazy how you're now a professional runner at Nike. Can you tell me, like, how did you get started in running, and what were your goals when you were in high school?
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I got started. I played soccer growing up, and just kind of realized I was always one of the fastest kids on the field. Felt like I never got tired throughout the game, and I don't know, like, just as a kid, I was just always running all over the place, and I just had a natural love for just running. I always just thought I was always fast and just really enjoyed it. I would run like laps around the house when I was really little and have my mom time me and stuff. So I don't know. It's just been in me since like I was a little kid. And finally got the opportunity to go out for cross country and track teams in 7th grade, and just kind of fell in love with the sport of cross and track just right away. I think it probably helped that I had like a little bit of success early on and I was pretty good right away, but it was just something that I always loved. And yeah, did pretty well in middle school, and then made the decision to kind of pursue running full time, I guess, and start running cross country instead of going out for soccer in high school. And pretty much from that point on, there's been like no looking back, I guess. Yeah, I think I just got kind of continuously better throughout high school just by getting older and developing, and kind of just like training for the first time, figuring out what training was like. And I'd say like in high school, for most of high school, my big focus and my big goal was to like eventually win state. But like more importantly than that, I wanted to run well enough to get a scholarship to go to college and get a athletic scholarship and go to college and just kind of take that next step in running. And yeah, that was always the big focus. And I guess towards the end of high school, when like I started having some real success on the state and national level, that's when I started kind of thinking and believing it was possible that I could keep running even after college.
Mm-hmm. And was there at any point in high school, did you ever think you'd be a professional runner, or was it just hoping that you get to run in college?
Yeah, I'd say probably, I would guess like junior year. Like sophomore year was a big breakthrough year for me. Just on the state level, finishing kind of high up at state and cross and track. And I guess junior year was kind of the first time that I like started really seeing myself as one of the top guys in the state. And yeah, I won I started winning like a lot of races junior year, and running some really good times like nationally. And that's when I like definitely like I kind of knew at that point I was going to be running in college, and like I kind of felt like at that point I would end up having like a pretty good college career, and that's when kind of the seeds were planted of like kind of running after college being a possibility. And I remember junior year track season, like running the 4x4, like our high school team, like high school teams always line the track for the 4x4 and cheer everyone on because it's the highlight event of the meet. And we would have like an individual cheer for each person's leg. So like every person on the relay would have like a specific chant or cheer for them. And during junior year, when I was running the 4x4, the track team started chanting Beijing '08 every time I was running, and like running around the track and coming in the lead or whatever it was. Yeah, my chant was Beijing '08, and then clap, 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 clap. And that was, and obviously like I was so far away from like being able to make the Olympics at that point in my life. But that's when I started thinking like, okay, like that's my next goal. I want to run in the Olympics someday. And yeah, I'd say that was like a major turning point for me. And that was just something like the other guys on the track team started. I like obviously didn't tell them to do that, but yeah, that was a big turning point for me. And that kind of sparked a little bit of belief in myself.
Mm-hmm. And was there anything that helped you kind of really accelerate your development? Was there anyone that kind of came in, or any kind of program or mentality that kind of came in and really helped you just take it to a whole nother level?
You talk about in high school?
Yeah.
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that I did in high school was just like I very consistently, slowly built up like my training and my mileage throughout high school. And it seemed like every year I would kind of add a little bit more mileage. Training would get a little bit harder, but I would also get like a little bit more confidence and a little bit more belief in myself, and start setting my goals like a little bit higher. So for me, it was, I kind of, every time I achieved a smaller goal of mine, I would kind of set the bar a little bit higher. And it was, for me, it was always just about like making small, consistent gains. And yeah, I don't think there was ever anything that was kind of drastically different throughout high school. I guess like, I mean, I guess the biggest thing was just like going through puberty. Like I was like freshman year, I was probably like 5'8", like 100 pounds. And by the end of sophomore year, I was like 6'2", 145. And sophomore year was my big breakthrough year. So yeah, probably just puberty, growing and developing a little bit.
Yeah. And that 4x4 team, when you were a junior, you were also with Mike Conley, David Arndt, are those the guys you're with? Who's the fourth one?
Junior year, I think it at state, we ended up running, it was me, Conley, John Ariant, and I think David Arndt ended up filling in for me at the state meet, and it might have been Aaron Russo.
Oh yeah.
But we had like 5 or 6 guys that were all like right around the same point, and so we all kind of cycled through and changed it up pretty much every meet.
Mm-hmm. And out of curiosity, I just started running a couple of years ago. I ran my first marathon two years ago in Warsaw. Did you follow some kind of training program, or did you have a coach that was helping guide you with what you should be running, or was it just constantly putting on as many miles as you could?
In high school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I always just listened to, like, my coach at the time was Rob Piercy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like, I mean, coming in, I didn't know anything about running. This was like, before social media and like before like the internet was like as massive as it is now. So there wasn't as much information readily available for like a 13-year-old kid to just like Google search stuff. Like it just like wasn't a thing at that point. So I just fully trusted Coach Piercy, and yeah, he did a great job of kind of bringing me along slowly. He never like forced a ton of high mileage on me. So I just listened to him, and it's kind of just a very natural, easy progression throughout high school. Probably started high school freshman year running like 25 or 30 miles a week, and by the end maxed out I think my highest weekly mileage was like 70. But it was like a very slow progression, and yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah, cool. And so you're in high school, you're getting all these awards and winning all these races. And where did you decide to go to college to run, and why?
Yeah, I decided to go to University of Wisconsin, Madison, and they host a summer cross country camp for high schoolers every year. And me and a bunch of the guys on the cross country team ended up going up there. I went summer before sophomore, junior, and senior year. And so I kind of, it's a really nice recruiting tool for the university, because you get all these high school kids to come in and have a good time and see the campus and kind of learn what the team and the school's tradition is about. And I learned a lot from those camps, just like seeing how good the guys on the college team were. The head coach was there. And so you get to meet him and kind of learn who he is a little bit over the summer. And he was the coach that recruited me. And he's still my coach today, Jerry Schumacher. And I think like I liked a lot about what I saw at those camps, team aspect, the university, the campus. But I think what I liked most was the coach. And during the recruiting process, I felt like we had like a really good connection. He was like the type of person that made me want to be a better runner. And he got me really excited about my potential and what my future could be like, and the type of runner that I could become training under him. And yeah, I'd say that was the biggest factor in me choosing the university. And yeah, it helped that I got a full athletic scholarship from them. And it wasn't like a huge priority on my list, but like the university is only 2 hours away from where we grew up. And I wanted to get out of Illinois. I wanted to like kind of explore the country and see something different, but it just worked out that Wisconsin was the right fit for me. And I think it was, my mom appreciated that it was only a 2-hour drive away.
To come watch your races and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So walk us through that first year at University of Wisconsin. What was it like running there, competing there, and how did your development grow from there?
Yeah. I came in with a little bit of an injury. I had like an Achilles problem right at the tail end of summer going into freshman year. And it flared up really bad. And I ended up having to take like months off of running for it to calm down. And I didn't get kind of a start on running and training until basically the end of the cross country season. So I redshirted that whole season and really started training like basically November 1st, and just kind of built up slowly over the course of the winter. It was a little interesting because like I was the only freshman recruit on the team, and like I came in and I'm not competing or practicing with the guys. So there was like a little bit of a disconnect between like, not like a disconnect, but like I just didn't get that like true bonding experience with the guys on the team those first couple months, just because I wasn't running with anyone. And you're not spending all that much time outside of practice with these guys. So I became really close friends with just a bunch of like just normal students in my dorm, and had a really tight group of guys in our dorm. And by the time, I guess, like January 1st came around, we started training serious again. And that's when I like started getting to know the track team a little bit more, and start racing. So you start traveling, and it was fun. I think for me, like every part of that, the rest of that year was like just kind of all new experiences, like traveling with the team, like across country for the first time. It's a big step up in competition from high school. So I was just getting my butt kicked like every workout. And I remember like just being tired all the time. And then, it's just like kind of like high school, things just kept going better and better throughout the course of the track season. And like, I'm just constantly like kind of setting the bar a little bit higher, and ended up qualifying for NCAA championships outdoors in the 1500. I made the final and finished 8th, and got the last All-American spot in the 1500. It was like a great first year. Not like not perfect. It was definitely some ups and downs, but I finished that year really, really excited about where I was as a freshman. And I was just like, all right, like next year, like next 3-4 years, like I'm going to have like a great NCAA career. Like this is going to be so much fun. I've like already finished All-American on the podium at NCAA championships. I'm going to do that.
I'm going to be the boy on campus.
I'm going to do that for the rest of my career here. So that's what my thinking was. And then about a week or two after NCAA champs, my coach Jerry sat the team down and was like, "Hey guys, want to let you know I've been talking with Nike, and I've decided to take a coaching job out in Portland, Oregon, to coach a group of professional guys. And I'm not going to be the coach here any longer." And I was just so pissed. I was like, I just got here, like you recruited me, like now you're leaving. Had so many thoughts going through my mind, like, where am I going to transfer to? Am I going to transfer? Like, who's going to be the next coach here? So many things going through my mind. And I was just mad in the moment.
Cheated on you with Nike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how it felt. But then like a week or two after that, I was still training for the junior world championships. So like 19 and under world championships. And I was just like working out by my own that day because I was the only freshman on the team. And he sat me down and he's like, "Hey, what would you say if I asked you to move out to Nike with us and run for Nike and start running professionally?" I was like, "Hell yeah." And I got so excited because that was like a dream of mine at the time. And that was not even on my radar one bit. I didn't think that was an opportunity. And as soon as he brought it up, I just got like a huge smile on my face. And I was like, yeah, of course. And then I took like a while to like actually think about it and weigh my options. But yeah, obviously I ended up moving out here. And
Yeah.
Like I gave up the rest of my collegiate eligibility. So
Yeah, you made the choice from instead of being the boy on campus in Madison for being the boy at the Nike campus.
yeah, I thought I was going to be top dog in a couple of years at Wisconsin, and I went right back to being the baby.
Yeah. And was there a reason why he decided to choose you over other people on the team? Was there something that he saw in you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think he just, I mean, it was something that we always talked about, like my freshman year and during the recruiting time. He just he always talked about the potential that I had, and that was, I mean, that was something that just got me super excited to run under him. And yeah, I think it was probably in his eyes like the potential. Um, he saw something there. I don't know what it was. Maybe just kind of the way I ran and the success that I had under the training that I had. But he saw something, and I mean, he believed there was something about it that he believed that I could make it work even as like a 19-year-old, and I always had that belief as well. So yeah, it was thankfully it did work out, because it doesn't always work that way. There's been a couple instances of it not kind of playing out that way. So
Yeah. So it kind of seems that, starting in high school, someone kind of plants this idea in your head that, you can do more, you have more potential, and you kind of jump on it. You get to college, then all of a sudden someone says you got potential to go pro, and it's just kind of keeps accelerating forward. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
So you get to the Nike campus. It's over there in Portland. Is that correct?
Yeah, the campus is in Beaverton, which is just outside of Portland. It's like a 10-15 minute drive.
Uh-huh. And walk us through, what was it like being, what were you, 19 at the time?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was it like being a
Yeah.
professional runner at Nike at 19?
It was wild. It, yeah, I don't know. Like everyone treats like my like next youngest teammate in age, I think turned 24 that December. So I was the youngest by like 4 or 5 years on the team, and like literally everyone I knew was either was like 24 to like 40, and so I was definitely the baby. Everyone on the team treated me like the little brother, which was great. Like they all took me in like really quickly, and I think they kind of understood that I was going to need like a lot of help and a lot of guidance, and um, they like poked fun at me, and like not like physically beat me up, but like just like toughen me up, like as older brothers would. And I think they kind of realized that it was kind of like on them to help mold me to be like the athlete that I was going to be. And so like I owe everything to Jerry and the older guys on the team, because those first like 4 or 5 years in the group when I was just doing nothing but like learning were like extremely influential to me. And I think like I see little bits of each one of my old teammates and myself, even to this day. And it was kind of that way with just about like everyone out here. Just there was a couple people at Nike that I got to know, and I just felt like, yeah, everyone treated me like the younger brother, and yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure.
Cool. And did it finally hit your reality that you're like a professional athlete, that you're getting to get paid for something, that most people dream about? Did it like hit you at all, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, it hit me right when Jerry asked me to move out to Portland and join Nike. Like I don't know how many times I told people that first year, like how crazy it was that I was getting paid to do something that like I already did every single day. Like I was going to do it regardless. And I just couldn't believe it. Um, it was so much fun to me. It was just like, not comical, but it was just like, it was awesome. It was just awesome that I like finally, like I had my dream job at
Yeah.
19. It was incredible. And um, yeah, it was everything I could ask for. A lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Sounds like, definitely something that most people dream about all the time. And so once you got you started running professionally for Nike, I bet there were a lot of challenges along the way. Were there any kinds of periods during that first year where you doubted yourself, or any kind of other challenges that arose during that first year?
Yeah, the first year it was interesting because like everyone that was going to be on our team, like so Jerry had myself and we had like um, let's see, like 5 or 6 other athletes, say. So it was a small group of guys, and all the guys except for one were former Wisconsin Badgers that had run under Jerry. So they were all teammates at one point or another on the university team, and had continued like living in Madison and running professionally under Jerry. So it was this group of guys that they had all been teammates. They were already running professionally that moved out to Portland. Um, but I mean, the decision, I made the decision in, say, June or July, and everyone on the team, or not everyone, but half the guys on the team, all had like, they had their lives in Madison, and so Jerry had to pack up his family, sell his house, find a new house out here. There was another guy that owned a house in Madison that had to sell it and find a new house out here. 2 or 3 of the guys had that situation. Some of the other guys were looking to buy out here. And so I was one of the first people, like of the 7 of us or whatever it was, to actually move out. So it was me, and I think 2 other teammates at the time that like I didn't really know well at all before moving out here, that moved out first in like October. And then the rest of the team kind of moved out in, say, like January. And there was like a brief period where, like, of a month or two where, like, obviously I didn't know anyone out here. I kind of took the year off of school to kind of just get situated as a professional, kind of learn the ropes of running professionally. So I didn't have classes to go to. Literally all I was doing was like running, eating, and sleeping. And there was only like 2 other guys out here. So there was a brief period where I like was, I wouldn't say like homesick, but like I like wanted to just like just go back home and like hang out with friends and family, just because like I didn't know anyone. But as soon as people started trickling in and we started getting into like serious training, and I could kind of set my focus on something specific, then I just kind of got into the rhythm of the training, and that's all I really cared about at the time. So there was just like, yeah, like a couple months where I was, I guess, homesick. And then the rest of the year was honestly like, it was that first year at Wisconsin, just like times 10, where now instead of like, I'm getting my butt kicked by like older guys in college, I'm getting my butt kicked by like professional runners that had been doing this for like 10 years, And so, yeah, I remember the training from my freshman year at Wisconsin. This was like 2 or 3 times harder than that. And so I basically spent every single workout for sure, just trying to hang on as long as I could before, like we call it, blowing up, just like not having, just like completely being spent. And so I would do that 3 times a week. I'd have a workout on Tuesday and I'd just hang on as long as I could. And then I'd blow up and then my workout would be over. And I'd do that again on Thursday. And then I'd do that again on Sunday during our long run. And every day in between that, I was just completely exhausted because I increased my mileage from like 60, maybe 65 miles a week at Wisconsin to I jumped like straight up to like 90 miles a week. So my weekly mileage was higher. The workouts were like 10 times harder. And then on top of that, we were like working out in the gym, doing all of our like strength work 3 times a week, which like I hadn't really done in college. So there's just like all this new stimulus and I was just completely exhausted all the time. And every single day was just a battle for me, literally up until like probably like May. So for like six straight months, I was just grinding as hard as I could.
And was it more mental or physical?
Definitely more physical at that point. I mean, part of it was mental because I hadn't really ever in Jerry's eyes, I hadn't really ever trained hard up until that point. Like you think you train hard in like college and high school until like you turn pro and you like kind of learn what hard training actually is. So part of it was mental, like kind of teaching myself and learning that I could like last longer in these workouts than I like actually thought was possible. So part of it was mental, but it was mainly physical just because like I hadn't done any kind of work like this before. And so most of the time, even if I wanted to, I'd say 95% of the workouts that we did like were designed for me not to be able to finish them. So like Jerry's
it's torture.
Coach, oh yeah, it was hell. Jerry kind of writes the workouts for the person in the group that is fittest, like the best runner basically. And so there was like I'm working out with guys that have like a 5K time that's probably like 30 or 40 seconds faster than mine. And so every workout that I do is like written for them. And so, yeah, I mean, he didn't tell me this in the moment when I was like trying to do these workouts, but years later he told me, he's like, oh yeah, I didn't expect you to finish any of those workouts that first year. Like if you finished a workout, it was like a big surprise and you would like shock me. But yeah, most of the time I was just trying to find your limit basically.
That's funny.
And so
he probably tells you this randomly, like over, one night having beers, like 2 years later, while you've spent all those years torturing yourself, not knowing that you've done that.
Yeah. It was probably more like 5 or 7 years later. And as an athlete, you're like, you're super competitive and like you don't want to not finish workouts. So I spent like the first couple of years of my career, like kind of running that way. And you kind of just feel like a failure every time you don't finish the workouts. And in actuality, like I was training really, really well.
That's really good. It sounds like Jerry was a really influential part on your training and your success. Were there any other strategies or techniques that he used that really helped you develop into a professional runner?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think it's his like coaching philosophy, his training philosophy, and like just the way that he expects us as athletes to kind of come into practice every day and treat the workouts is like he expects your very best, like basically every single day. And like he wants you to bring your A game like every single workout, regardless of like what type of workout it is. Like, and so you just kind of learn over time to do that as an athlete. And I think if you can teach yourself to kind of be tough in the hard moments, like even when you're not necessarily expecting to on that day, it makes you a better athlete, and it better prepares you for kind of race day, when you do have those kind of gut check moments in the middle of a race. And you don't even really have to think about like, okay, toughen up, like suck it up, you can do this. It's just kind of naturally there after doing it year after year after year.
So I was watching a couple of your races today just to kind of see how you performed. And I noticed that you just glide towards the end. It seems like you're just not even in any pain. Are there any, so when you are going through those moments, are you mentally switching things on, or are they just naturally kind of activating? Are there any techniques you're using?
No, I mean, for most of my career, I never really focused on like the mental side of the sport. I think I just always naturally was like really good at
being good.
No, that's not. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of it. But I think the bigger part of it is like I think I always had that intensity, like come race time. And like I've heard this like from multiple people like years later after meeting them, like in whether it was in high school or early on in my collegiate career or professional career. Like I'd have people come up to me and like tell me like, oh, I was so intimidating. Like I was so intimidated to talk to you. And I always felt like I was like a super nice, like friendly person. And like, that was always very shocking to like hear. I was like, why would you be intimidated of me? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But like multiple people would tell me like, yeah, you are like pretty intense on race day. And so I think like even in high school, I was always, I think just like so serious and competitive that like I would just get to the race and like naturally be able to like mentally focus and like get extremely worked up for a race. And so for most of my career, like especially when I was healthy, kind of the momentum of a year-long season just constantly builds as you get fitter and fitter and fitter. It's just kind of like naturally how the year goes. And I would just take confidence from like the months and weeks, like building and building, that I would go into a race and I would just always feel like I always felt like I was ready for like a really big performance. Mm-hmm. And so during the race, like my focus is kind of the same, where like as the fatigue builds, you kind of like get more and more worked up, I guess. And yeah, you just like get more focus. And so that was never something I really felt like I had to work on. And it's really only been within the last couple years that I've like started working on the mental game. And I think that has come because like I had a pretty like serious injury that has mentally affected me like 2 years ago now. And so I've like kind of had to work on rebuilding the confidence and the belief in myself over the last couple years, just because it wasn't a serious injury, but like mentally and emotionally, it was a very traumatic injury. Just I think because of the nature of the injury and the time of my career that it hit. I'm like kind of an older athlete in the world of track and field, and so yeah, that's been something that I've been working on lately, and I think kind of just naturally as you age, an athlete, as you age, there's like more things that you can kind of pick and choose to focus on to try and get better. Whereas like as a younger athlete, like I think just trying to do the training is enough. It's like it's enough to have like that one thing to focus on to be a better athlete. And as you get older and you get better, and the training itself comes a little bit easier, then you focus on diet, or you focus on like sleeping schedule, or you focus on the mental aspect of the sport. And I've always thought that like you can always focus on the little things more and more as you get older, but you got to really kind of nail down those bigger, broader aspects of the sport when you're younger.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of diet, do you follow a very specific diet?
No, I just
Touch everything in sight.
at times of the year, yeah. When I was younger, I ate like trash, just awful. I didn't know how to cook, and so I just ate bad. I remember we would do like Panda Express and Chipotle and Qdoba like just all the time, just because like I didn't know how to cook and I didn't want to cook. And then I'd say when I was like 23 or 24, I moved in with a group of like younger guys that had joined the team. They were all around my age, but they had just recently joined the team. And a couple of them were like actually pretty decent cooks. And so we just started cooking all the time. And I just kind of got into the habit of eating healthier then. So I'd say for at this time of the year, like this is kind of like my mental reset part of the year when we're not racing and training isn't as intense. It's hard, but it's not intense. And so I kind of use this time of the year to kind of just eat a little bit more of what I want, have a couple beers on the weekend when I feel like it, or after workout. I try to not be as strict about diet at this time of the year. And then once like the track season starts rolling around, then I'll just kind of tighten things up a little bit. I'll make sure to cook most if not all of my meals, add in like a lot more vegetables, have a salad every night with dinner, and just eat cleaner. I don't have like a diet. I'm running so much that like calories aren't really like the issue. It's like it's more of like making sure that you're eating enough. So I just eat until I'm full, basically.
Crush those Panda Expresses.
Yeah. Maybe not so much. Maybe not Panda Express.
Not so much anymore, huh?
No, not anymore.
And what's it like your typical year look like? So when are you training? When are you in your downtime? When are you competing?
Yeah, so downtime is really only like 2 weeks after the season, where I'll take like so say after my last race, which is typically in a normal year, it's like first week of September basically is the last race of the track season. And so I'll take 2 weeks to jog like 15 to 25 minutes every other day for like 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, then I'll just slowly start building mileage back up. And usually we get about like maybe 6 or 7 weeks to do that without any workouts. And then by the end of those 6 weeks, we start meeting up as a team again and start working out. And pretty much all fall, like October, November, December is all just we call it base work. It's a lot of like mile repeats, a lot of 2-mile repeats, just like kind of longer, slower workouts that you're just kind of laying a good groundwork for the rest of the year. So I'll build my mileage and do these kind of hard but like boring workouts up until like January 1st. And then January 1st, we start doing a little more like track specific work. So the reps start getting a little bit shorter. Maybe we're doing like 800s or 1200s instead of miles and 2 miles. The pace is faster, just to kind of get ready for more like race specific pace. And then it's really just like a slow progression from like slower to faster throughout the course of the year. So you're slowly, it's like at the beginning of the year, it's like 10 miles of work in a given workout at like 4:45 per mile pace. And then by the end of the track season, you're doing 3 miles of work, but it's all at like 4 flat to like 4:05 mile pace. And pretty much essentially everything in between is like a very gradual progression from the start to the finish. And that's done a lot of different ways throughout like speed workouts or 5K specific workouts or 10K specific workouts. And it's just a real big combination of everything to get from point A to point B, if that makes sense. And then, like typically our indoor track season starts, like we'll start racing in February, and that season will last like 5 or 6 weeks. And then the outdoor track season starts generally at the end of April. And you just race every 2 or 4 weeks, basically from April until September 1st, essentially. And obviously you're getting fitter throughout the course of the track season. Races get faster. You start running against better and better competition as the year gets on, because you start traveling and racing international competition instead of just the local or national competition. And
Speaking of international competitions, walk us through what is the international schedule like? Because you said there are world events, right? Every year you guys are focusing on a different world event.
Yeah. With the exception of like the off year. Yeah, typically like the World Championships or the Olympics will be in August, say like early August. And our trials to make the team for those championships, so the US trials, are typically like 5 or 6 weeks before that. And so the bulk of the season leading up to the US trials is you're mainly like you're racing to work on like racing tactics, but also you're racing to improve fitness, just because it's always easier to push yourself harder in a race than it is a workout, just because the competitive juices get flowing. So sometimes races kind of serve as improving fitness. And on top of that, you're also trying to get qualification times for the either US championships or the Olympics or World Championships. So we'll start racing end of April, early May. I'll probably do 4 or 5 races throughout the track season leading up to the U.S. championships, and usually try to get a qualification time early in the year. So that's out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. And then you can just kind of focus on racing and competing the rest of the races. And so I'll get that qualification time, which will earn me a spot to compete at the U.S. championships or the trials. And at those U.S. championships, you race against everyone that has qualified for those championships based on time. And they, at the end of the championships, in whatever event you do, as long as you have the world champs or Olympic qualifying time, if you're top 3 at those championships, then you get to go to Worlds or Olympics. So it's literally just a big funnel, like kind of all year. You're taking this big group of athletes at the start of the track season, and it's like everyone has the opportunity at the start of the track season to make the Olympics. It's like no one's guaranteed a spot. You have college athletes, you have professional athletes, and everyone's in this big funnel. And then as the track season goes on, you start running faster times. There's a small number of athletes that actually hit the U.S. trials qualification time. And so that funnel is like this. And then there's even fewer that have the Olympic or World Championships qualifying time. So there might only be like 5 to 10 athletes at the trials or championships that even have a chance of qualifying for the Olympics. And so, I mean, typically the fastest athletes are going to be the ones that are finishing top 3, but that's not always the situation. So, yeah. And then at the end of basically after the US championships, there's that 5 to 6 weeks in between the Olympics and the Olympic trials. And some athletes race a few times in between. Some athletes race just once, some not at all. And then you just go to the Olympics, and it's kind of the same thing as the Olympic trials.
Just crush it.
You start out with like 30 athletes in each event, and 10 to 12 make the final. And then you got 12 men or women in the final, all competing for the 3 medals. And so, yeah, it's really interesting to just like, I mean, the whole world is like competing for the opportunity to do that at the end of the year. And it comes down to 3 athletes. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. So it's nuts that you just started out racing around the Fox Valley Conference, going around Jacobs, Crystal Lake. Then you started racing around the Big Ten Conference, in Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa. And then now you're finally on, the professional team racing around the States and internationally. Tell me a little bit about your first success and first times getting success internationally, and what was it like to finally start winning, and what was happening to your confidence, and how was that experience?
Yeah. So I definitely did not. I mean, first year, like I had a good first year, but I wasn't making like any sort of waves internationally. There was probably no one outside of the US that like knew I existed. And so it was a solid first year, but nothing crazy. I actually had a stress fracture my second year, had to have surgery, which kind of took like a full year to kind of recover from. So I essentially lost the 2010 and 2011 season because of that. And then 2012 came around, and it was an Olympic year. And that was when I made the switch to the steeplechase, because I had been running the 5,000 meters or the 1,500 meters the previous couple years. And so I'd say my first international success was my like fifth steeplechase race. I had already qualified for the Olympic team in Eugene in, I think, like late June or early July maybe. And then I'd say about like 10 days or 2 weeks after the trials, I went to Monaco to compete in my first Diamond League event in the steeplechase. And it was the first time racing against international competition in the steeple. And I mean, I probably had the slowest personal best going into the race, if not one of the slowest. I had run 8:17 at the trials to win, and knew I was capable of running faster than that, but I just didn't know how much faster. And so I kind of went into that race thinking, okay, like the American record is 8:08. I thought that at the trials I was capable. I had like 8:12 fitness in me like that day based on how the race played out and how I felt. And I thought kind of going into Monaco, if like all things went perfect and I was feeling good, I thought that I might have been able to run like somewhere between like 8:10 and 8:08. And my plan was like I knew the Kenyans were like dominant in the steeple. And so my plan was to go out like behind the group of Kenyans. Like I assumed they were all going to go to the front and I could tuck in about like 7th or 8th place and like just sit behind them all race and just like basically do what I did my entire first year, just like hang on as long as I could. And so as the race went on, I like found myself like just passing guys, whether it was like over a hurdle or over the water jump. I remember like 3 laps in, I passed a guy over the water jump and I was like, oh, I feel pretty good. And I just kind of stayed right there and I just kept doing that and got to like a lap or 2 laps to go. And I found myself in 3rd place. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling pretty good. And I ended up battling. Oh man, I might have like taken the lead or something actually. I remember like passing 2 guys going into a lap to go and just thinking like, what the heck is going on? Like, this is so crazy. And ended up, I think I finished 3rd place and ran 8:06 for the American record. And it was like my 5th time running the event. And that was like, obviously like a huge stage. Diamond League is like, it's shown on TV everywhere in Europe. And I beat some really solid guys and kind of like had the attention of the commentators during the race, and they had acknowledged like how surprising of a race it was. And
was this the one where the Kenyans came afterwards to congratulate you?
No, you're thinking of another one.
Okay.
I think you're thinking of my Paris race.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just that like totally changed my perspective of like what I was capable of going into the Olympics. Because kind of before that race, my mindset, like training for the Olympics, was like, okay, like I want to make the final. That's like all I care about. If I make the final, I'll be one of the top 12 or 15 guys in the world. Like that'll be awesome. Like I just want an opportunity to like race the final and like be on TV or something like that. And I I like got third in that race and ran 8:06, and it like completely changed my mindset. I was like, okay, like fastest time of the year this year is probably like is like right around 8 minutes. So I'm like only like 6 seconds away from the best guys in the field. And I kind of thought like if everything goes my way on the day at the Olympics, there's like a very outside possibility that I could medal. And so that was kind of my mindset. And it just like, yeah, it just changed like that. And that was a big eye opener for me. And yeah, I mean, that was the start of my steeple career.
That's super cool. And before we get into your story about Rio and actually getting into that final race, tell us about the transition to steeplechase. What made you switch into running the steeplechase event?
So starting out, do you remember Kevin Christian?
I don't believe so.
Okay, he was a track coach, math teacher, young guy. He actually came in my junior year, so he was probably only there for a year for you. But he was an assistant track coach, and we were just messing around one day after practice, like high jumping in the gym, just for fun. And I like high jumped like 5'10" or something like that. And he's like, that's not normal for like a distance runner. You should think about doing the steeple when you get to college. And so I was like, oh, okay, like didn't know what the steeple was, and it's like whatever, and didn't think about it for a few years. And then I guess it was just like always in the back of my mind. And like once I started running professionally, I started paying attention to the steeplechase, and it was like I always thought, I was like, that looks like fun. Like I think I could be pretty good at it. And part of that thought process was like I've got like I used to have like a really bouncy stride. Like I was like super bouncy off my toes. And so the thought was like getting over the barriers wouldn't be that difficult for me. Like it wouldn't be that big of any energy expenditure, and pretty tall. And so kind of just thought like the combination of like me just as a track athlete and some of the other abilities that I had, it just kind of made sense that it might work. And so going into the Olympic year, it was just like, started thinking about like, okay, like, do you want to try and make the 5K team, or like, should we give this steeple thing a go and like see how good you are, and just have that in our back pocket basically. And so I started doing the hurdle practicing and the water jump practice, and just training for it and seeing how it went. And after the first couple times practicing hurdling, it felt like completely natural to me. And I just took to it really, really quickly and really well. And once I started doing some of the more steeple specific training, it just felt right. And I just enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the aspect of kind of focusing on trying to perfect the steeple, the hurdle technique, and just having something other than just like running in a straight line to focus on, you know? Mm-hmm. And it made me feel like more of a complete athlete, and it was just fun for me. And yeah, just kind of went really well starting off, and we decided to stick with it.
Well, it seems like it paid off to go with that transition and that pivot. Before we also talk about the Rio story, I wanted to talk a little bit about your injury, because you said you had a stress fracture during your first couple of years, and you were out for, I think you mentioned for a year or two. So I imagine that must have been really difficult, that you had this, routine and plan and consistently training, and all of a sudden that got taken away with you. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to get injured and how you coped with it?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I was young, so I didn't really have like a ton of patience for being injured. Um, and like, I mean, being out here, being a professional athlete, like when it's your job, like yeah, I still like just loved running and like didn't really think of it as a job, but when it is your job and like knowing that you can't go out there and just run every day is like extremely frustrating. And you talk to any runner and like everyone freaking hates cross training. And so I basically, because of the surgery, I had to take about 6 months off of running, and for most of that time, all I was really able to do was stationary bike, and I would still like go into practice each day with the guys. Um, I would go sit on a stationary bike for an hour or so, and they would go out for a run or like a workout. And just like seeing that like every single day for 6 months, like seeing them being able to go out and do what you want to do, and like you have to sit on a stationary bike, it's just like it's really frustrating. And um, yeah, there were like definitely parts of me that questioned whether or not I would like ever get back to the level that I once was, and um, like there's parts of the rehab process where like my foot just felt awful like for months on end, and I was like my foot's never going to feel normal again. Like I don't know how I'm ever going to get back to running fast. And um, like you can't really learn patience, or like no one can teach you how to be patient. You kind of have to learn how to be patient on your own. And so that was just kind of part of the process. I just I focused on the cross training, and like I would play little like mental games during cross training to keep myself motivated. And I a lot of days on the bike, I would like for the last like kind of 15 or 20 minutes, I would like not like close my eyes the whole time, but I would like close my eyes at times and like try to picture myself on the track running a race. And I would just like start pedaling like as hard as I could and just kind of go to the well each day. Um, just trying to get a little bit of that like competitive juice like back going again. And um, I think that kind of helped me just mentally get through things so that I wasn't just like nonchalantly like sitting on the stationary
Mhm.
bike every single day, like not really getting anything out of it. And so, um, yeah, that kind of kept me going mentally, and kept me in as decent of physical shape as I really needed to be in when I did finally come back to training again. Um, and then like once you start running on dry ground again and you start getting back out there, it's like the first run was like so much fun again. Like it just felt so good to get back out there and just actually go for a run again. Um, and then it's just kind of starting the training process all over again. You like just take little baby steps and finally get back up to full workload, and then you're back to racing in no time.
Yeah. So you mentioned visualization during your rehab time. Do you use visualization outside of that on a normal basis at all?
Not regularly. I do every so often. I think, yeah, when things get tough, sometimes, or if I want to, like, if my body isn't feeling great, sometimes I'll try to visualize like what I look and feel like when I am feeling really good. Um, but I mean, this time of the year, training is so like monotonous and mind numbing that I most days am just like kind of shutting my brain off and like just getting through the work at this time of the year. And I'm not trying to get too mentally worked up for these workouts, because there's a lot of mental energy and emotional energy that I'll need to have later on in the track year. I know that. And so I kind of just shut my brain off at this time. But I think I do think visualization is a huge resource and extremely helpful. But at this time of the year, I'm gonna save it for later.
For sure. So let's go back then to the 2013 Monaco race, where you kind of surprised yourself, and you had just mentioned that you were only within 6 to 8 seconds of some of the world's best runners at the Steeplechase. So you're going into the 2016 Olympics. Walk us through that experience. What was the journey like? What was it like to represent your country? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. Representing the country is pretty special. I thought it was a great honor the first time in 2012, but I didn't really understand kind of like the magnitude of it until like after I had competed. I remember seeing like a bunch of videos from like people back home in Algonquin, like packing a Buffalo Wild Wings, watching the race. And I remember being very touched, like thinking that there were that many people that cared about how I did. And I realized in that moment, I'm not just competing for myself anymore. I'm competing for like family and friends back home, like everyone that kind of watched me growing up, that cheered for me in high school. And there's like a lot of people, specifically in Algonquin, but even outside of Algonquin, that like truly do care how you do like in these races. And so I've tried to carry that with me, more so at like the international, like the World Championships and Olympics, when you're wearing USA. I think just like seeing USA on your chest, it makes it a little easier to kind of think about who you are representing that day. And so, yeah, there's definitely, I mean, as an athlete, like I'm trying to do well regardless, but there's definitely a part of me. I think pretty much every time that I compete with USA on, like I will go back and I'll think about like the people that will be watching and cheering for me, like back home specifically. And so it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. And like for us, like the Olympics is the pinnacle. It's the biggest thing we'll ever be able to do. And it's a very intense, powerful day when you're competing that finals day.
Yeah, so you made it to the final. I believe there were 6 runners at the final race.
Oh no, I think like 15.
Is there 15? So
Yeah.
walk us through that final event. What was going through your head? Did you think you were going to win it all, or are you just once again just trying to hang on?
So the journey there, obviously it was a long journey to get there, but in my mind, the journey kind of started the year previous, 2015. I'll try to recap real quickly, but in the summer, like in July, I ran another Diamond League race in Paris, and I ran my personal best, that 8 flat 45, but it was the first time that I had really controlled a race, and like I had taken the lead the last 800 meters and broken away from everyone in the field. I was on my way to winning the race and running a time under 8 minutes. And like, unfortunately, I had a lapse of concentration, was super tired at the end of the race and tripped and fell over the final barrier. Fast forward a little bit, kind of coming away from that race, had had I not fallen, I was in position to run like 7:56, 7:57, have the fastest time in the year going into the World Championships. And so I was definitely looked at as one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win gold at the World Champs in 2015. And that was kind of a new position for me. I had never really been there as an athlete, and it was a lot of pressure that I kind of wasn't really ready for in the moment. And it was, that race happened like 3 or 4 weeks before the championships. So I didn't have like enough time to really kind of come to terms with what that result meant and the new position I was in. Ended up having a really bad race. I think I let the emotions get to me. I ended up finishing 6th. Huge disappointment for me. And so I learned a lot from that race and carried that motivation with me the entire next year. And that was my motivation for the Olympics. And trained my ass off that whole year, got in really good fitness again. And about like 10 days before the Olympics, one of my coaches sat me down, and he could tell like how intensely I was carrying the weight of like the potential medal around my neck, on my shoulders. And like obviously that was all I was focused on that whole year. And I think he kind of saw that intensity and realized it might have been a little too much. And he sat me down and he's like, "Hey, like, I know you want this medal. Like, you've worked really hard. You're in the best shape of your life. I want you to like forget about medaling going into the Olympics. You can't." He had an analogy for me that I'm not going to repeat, but he basically said, you can't get the job done if all you're thinking about is the medal. You're going to like not focus on the right things. And so he told me, forget about the end result, just focus on doing everything right leading up to the end of the race, and just focus on running your best. And if you do that, then you've got a great shot to medal. And so I like had a moment with myself where I like had a real conversation, and I told myself that like I had to be okay with running my best race and not medaling, like walking away without a medal. And I came to a point where I like truly was at peace with like not medaling and like running a good race and coming away in 4th, and knowing that if I did everything I could and ran a great race and didn't medal, I was going to be at peace with it. And so going into the final was like literally the most calm I've ever been for like a really big race. I was confident, like I knew I was in great shape. I had a race plan, and I was going to like execute the race plan no matter what. And yeah, like I was at peace with what the result was going to be. And I think it was like maybe the most relaxed race I've ever run. I remember like running the race and just feeling like I was the only person out there on the track, just completely running like my own race. And yeah, I was calm, and I didn't think going into the race that I was gonna win, just because the two other guys that finished 1st and 3rd, like I knew how good they were. There was a lot of really good guys in the field, and I knew it would have been really, really tough to beat all of them. But I thought I had a really, really good shot at finishing 2nd or 3rd. And yeah, it came down to the final lap. Three of us guys in contention for the medals. And it was just a matter of what order we were going to finish in, just because we'd run actually like such a fast early pace that we completely broke away from everyone else. And yeah, the I guess the silver medal came down to the final 100 meters between me and one other guy, and I was able to pass him over the last barrier and kick away from him, and yeah, got the silver medal.
That's so cool. Going from the kid just running on Farm Hill Drive or Huntington Drive in Algonquin to, running in front of billions of people and being the second fastest steeplechase runner in 2016. It's just mind blowing. I thought that was, when I was watching you, I thought that was the coolest thing to think about, is knowing that you are the second best in the world, that, out of all the 7 billion people, like, you're number 2 at something. That's such a cool feeling and humbling, to think about how far you came. So
it was pretty magical day. It was a pretty good day.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like coming back home with your friends and family and celebrating all your achievements?
Well, yeah, it was crazy. My family was actually there. Parents and sister, my wife and her mom were all there in the stadium. And so I got to kind of see them and share the moment with them, like on the victory lap right after the race. And then after I had like kind of gone through drug testing and cooling down and kind of getting through the stadium, I finally got to catch up with them again. And yeah, just like we all just couldn't believe it. It was crazy. Really, really cool, really special, really special being able to share that with all of them there that day. And then yeah, I also got married that fall, and so I went back to Chicago for my bachelor party with all the guys back home and brought the medal, and yeah, got to share that with them as well. So that was like an extra crazy weekend, obviously.
Yeah, so cool. And how has it been? I know you have a tight-knit group of friends back home in high school. How has it been kind of staying in touch with them and as you're kind of living away from them and also kind of traveling around?
Yeah, I mean, it's been about as good as I could have hoped. Kind of living across the country for as long as I have. We all still text every single day. We've got a group thread that we're always talking on. Play video games with a few of them online. Multiple times a week. And I mean, when I do go back home, it's pretty much, I see my parents and I see those guys, and yeah, they're basically family to me. And I think it's pretty special that I've been able to stay in touch with those guys as long as I have, and as well as I have. And yeah, it's great.
Cool. That's awesome. And so kind of as we're kind of wrapping things up here, we've kind of gone from your transition from being this newbie professional runner at the age of 19 to now, what are you, 31?
Yeah, I'll be 32 in March.
32 coming up, and you're kind of transitioning to the older guy over there.
I've already transitioned. I'm way past that. I'm there.
So what does the future hold for Evan Jager?
Like I said, I was telling you earlier, I think like I'm kind of working on contract negotiations right now, and me and my agent are trying to get like a 3 to 5 year contract. And so if we're able to get 5 years, I'll be, I would be 37 by the end of that contract. And so I think that would be probably a good time to hang up the spikes. And I would love to run 5 more years. I think I have it in me, as long as I can stay healthy. And I'm still loving the sport, loving pushing myself. We've got a lot of young guys on the team now that are just full of energy every single workout, and they're constantly pushing me. And yeah, it's good. I think in sports, like, you're constantly getting new young blood coming up, and it helps keep you young a little bit. And so yeah, I'd love to run 5 more years, be competitive for 5 more years, and then after that, yeah, I'll start thinking more seriously about what I'm going to do after my career once I get a little bit closer. But I still want to keep my mindset in the track and field world, and stay kind of dialed into me being an athlete for a little while longer before I start poking around and looking around for other things. But honestly, I'd love to do something staying in the sport, whether it be coaching or staying here in Portland and transitioning to working for Nike in some aspect. And yeah, I think that's where my mindset's at right now.
If that luscious hair holds up over the next 5 years, I think you got a nice hair modeling career still waiting for you when you're done.
Yeah, I'm still working on the shampoo sponsorship. So
that's super cool. And I mean, also you got to think Tom Brady's 43 and he's still playing, getting hit by 300-pound linemen. So who knows? Maybe a little bit longer. So
yeah, Tom Brady makes a lot more money than I do, so he's got more money to spend on his body than I do.
Yeah,
but yeah. I mean, 43. I don't know if I would want to do it that long, but yeah, I mean, athletes are playing a lot longer these days, and it's certainly possible for sure. So yeah, we'll see where things take me.
Well, that's cool. We'll be excited to see how that plays out for you. And I had just one more question out of curiosity. Due to the COVID situation, how's that impacting the season you guys have? And for example, I know you guys, the Olympics got postponed to 2021. Yeah. Do you have to re-qualify for that, or?
Yeah, so typically Olympic qualification takes place within like a 12-month period leading up to the Olympics. And so they had kind of closed the window on qualification opportunities for last year, because the IOC recognized that there were athletes in many different positions, and they kind of felt it was going to be a little unfair for some athletes to hit standards when other athletes were possibly going to be quarantining and like unable to train for most of the year. And so they just actually closed the qualification window in like April or something like that, and it'll be opening back up, I think December 1st, maybe. So pretty much everyone has to hit a qualification time unless they did it in like this very small window of time from the 2019 track season, because there was about a 2 or 3 month period in 2019 from what would have been like the start of the 12-month mark until the end of the track season, where some athletes were able to hit qualification time. So I still have to hit a time. There's a lot of other people that still have to hit a time, and I'll have to do that at some point in the outdoor season next year, in a pretty small window, but I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And how are you feeling about yourself going into Tokyo 2021? Any projections?
Projections? Nah, no projections. I'm feeling pretty good. I think like with this most recent entry I had, my body's finally coming around to feeling like my old self. Fitness is really good. Yeah, if I can keep the body together, I'm pretty confident of having a nice solid year next year. But I'm not making any projections. I don't know. It'll be a long time. Like I haven't steepled since the end of 2018. So it'll be like 2.5 years between steeple races, which it's a long time. So definitely not like the most confident I've ever been, but I think it'll only take me one or two steeples to kind of get comfortable again and feel pretty good about where I'm at.
Cool. Awesome. And just to end things off, I just recently got into marathon or ran my first marathon 2 years ago after thinking, I mean, I was like probably the slowest kid ever, but I always wanted to do it, and I finally did it. And it was a really great experience to train for 4 months, and each week being able to run more and more. And finally race day was just such a surreal moment with everybody in the city, closing down and supporting you. Any kind of tips or recommendations you have for people who are just starting out running or who are hesitant to run their first half marathon or marathon?
Yeah. I always say, no matter how old people are, like high school kids, like 8-year-olds, like 6th, 7th grade, like my biggest recommendation is just like consistency in everything you do. I know like people will be starting out from like absolutely nothing. So like it's really important. Like you did like 16 weeks. That's a great way to do it. I'd say like professionals typically will do a 10 to 12 week build up for a marathon, and that's like after already like running every day, like normally. So I think getting into 16 weeks is like, it's a great build up. You can take those first kind of 4 weeks to just get used to like running, basically build up mileage. And then those last 12 weeks, you can basically start the real training. And so, I'd recommend like building up your mileage really slowly. If you've never run before, just honestly do like 4 or 5 like 1 mile runs throughout the week, and just consistently build up in distance like each week if you can. Start off slow. I think if you get a good feel of like what you're capable of in training for the first like 6 weeks, then you can start kind of setting up a goal of how fast you want to run. But if you're completely brand new, just start off real light, just get used to running maybe for the first time ever. And if you can build up to like a nice, solid long run. I don't know. My mind is so skewed on what you should like, how you should train for a marathon, that I don't know like how you should actually tackle it. I want to say that you should definitely do a couple of runs that are like 13 miles, at least half marathon, if you can. Sure. I think a lot of people will try to build up to like 20 miles for their long run. And I know that's like an insane number for a lot of people, but if you can, over the course of 16 weeks, build up to 13 miles for a long run, you'll be in a pretty good place. And just trying to be as consistent with the training as you can. And if you do it slow, you're going to help prevent injuries. So just do it slow so you can just get used to running again.
So, all right, we're going to wrap things up here, and I know you got to get going soon, but are you down for a quick Travel Tribe toss-up? The 3 quick questions, and the first thing comes to mind.
Let's do it.
All right, first question is, what was the most embarrassing moment you've had abroad, or any kind of cultural misunderstanding?
Cultural. It's not cultural, but my most embarrassing was that Paris race for sure, falling the final barrier in front of like 60,000 people. That was pretty awful.
And the unlimited millions of people who saw it on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's literally like the one race that like everyone brings up.
Well, hopefully you can put that race to rest and continue to bring more hardware at the Tokyo Olympics. I want to thank you, Evan, for taking the time today to share your story. If you would like to follow Evan and his journey, you can find him at Evan Jager on Instagram. We wish you the best of luck with the Olympics and your future career. Peace out, and for all you listeners, go sign up for a marathon. I promise you won't regret it. Well, that does it for this week's episode of Travel Tribe Podcast. Join us each Tuesday as we release new episodes with great adventurers. Until then, remember, the most dangerous thing you can do in life is to play it safe. Stay adventurous.